going to make him join us on Friday, too, because you can never get enough of the great Tony Jones back on the drive on a Monday. T, what's going on?
I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Gundy survives this, too, because he survived everything else. He should have been gone years ago. Don't get me started on that guy.
Oh, well, we're here if you'd like to continue to unload. I'm not sure he survives this one, man. Not right now.
He shouldn't survive this one. He should be gone, like, right now. But this is probably, listen, that's his best player that's saying, like, listen, I'm not doing anything with Oklahoma State. I'm not playing for him. Like, he's one of the best running backs in football.
Yeah, he is.
So that might be enough to finally get him out. But we've known who Mike Gundy was. We've known who Mike Gundy was for a long time before this. So
yes, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. All right, bro, how you doing? How's your weekend? Everything good?
I'm good. You brought up Mike, and I was infuriated when I read that. I was infuriated earlier, and it just brought me back to a dark place. But I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
No, and I appreciate you. Last second notice, and I need an on-air commitment that you're also going to join us on Friday. Deal?
You have my on-air commitment.
Look at that. Double the fun with Tony Jones all week long, man. Let's stick with college football for a minute before we get to the NBA. I know we talked to you, I think it was the day the Scally stuff came down, but now that you've had some time to digest it a little bit, there's nothing new from the university. We know that it's the independent investigation. Our buddy Steve Bartle reported it could be a couple of weeks. Do you make anything of that time frame at all, or the latest, Tony, as far as what your thoughts are with the Morgan Scally situation?
Well, I just think that the university is taking its time, and it should. They need to vet this thoroughly to make sure, to see just how many instances there have been or there haven't been. To me, it's a tough situation because it's an inexcusable word. You can't use it ever. And then you have, so many guys who ended up going to bat for him and vouching for him in public via social media in the days after. So, the question that the university has to ask itself is, how do you weigh one against the other? So in that situation, in that sense, it's a real tough decision for Mark Harlan and the people around him to have to make.
Let's unpack this just a little bit more, Tony, because I want to I want you to help our listeners and the audience understand what it would be like. Let's say you had a son and he was a really good football player, and Morgan Scally came into your living room right now. And look, it's different because you know Morgan, and so that's one thing, but from an African-American male standpoint, would it be difficult to sit across from Morgan Scally and listen to him tell you reasons why your son should go play for him? I mean, that ultimately is what this comes down to. Can he do his job effectively?
See, and that's the problem. And the problem is I do know Morgan. And, like I said on the show, I've said that he's a great guy. I've always found him to be a great guy. But if I were a father and I had a four-star strong safety, and Morgan Scally came into my living room, first of all, he probably wouldn't make it to my living room after this came out. That's the real issue. There are people who are vouching for him, vouching for the man he is, vouching for the coach that he is. But those are people that, he's worked with and for a number of years. Recruiting is making new relationships every single day. And the toughest part about this, if you're looking at it from a Morgan Scally perspective, is how do you make new relationships every single day when something like this comes out?
Yeah. No, that's well put. That's well put. So we'll have to see. It's kind of a waiting game. And as I've said, I feel sad for my friend. I've known him for a long time, but I can't stand up for that. And he knows it. And so we'll see. So let's get over the Kyrie stuff, because There's so many people that are mad at him and so many people that hate him. I think that's somewhat telling, but we'll leave that where it needs to be left for now. And I don't dislike Kyrie, and I don't completely disagree with what he's saying. But what I do disagree with, Tony, is that I think the help that could come into play and the statement that the players could make while playing is louder than it could be sitting out. Maybe I'm wrong, but what do you think?
Well, I'll get to what you just said in a few. I did some reporting on this weekend. I talked to, I would say, about 6 NBA guys, about 4 of them who were on the call over the weekend. And, down to a person, everybody, I was told that, the vast majority of players, they want to play. And, similar to what Ed Davis told Hoopsite, I was told it's easy for the max contract guys. I don't want to single out Kyrie, but it's easy for the max contract types to say, yo, sit out, because those are the guys that can forego paychecks. And much, the NBA in its relative manner is a lot like America in its relative manner. The max contracts are the 1%. The vast majority of the NBA is not on the max contract, and those are guys that need to play and need to get paid, and so that's the one thing. So because of that, I fully expect us to go and play and have basketball, and for enough guys to play to put on a credible performance. Secondly, I disagree with Kyrie or Dwight or Lou Williams or anybody who says, we shouldn't play basketball because that distracts from the movement. To me, I don't want to say it's hogwash. I just vehemently disagree with that. There's no bigger platform than bringing the Black Lives Matter movement into millions and millions and millions of living rooms, and to pay to go and play, and to use the proceeds and the salaries of playing to fund activists, fund programs that are meant to fight systemic racism, fund programs that are meant to fight voter suppression within the Black community. I mean, the NBA athletes, by playing, have an incredible platform to fund and facilitate change. And I think if you sitting out and not playing is fine, but then you put yourself in a position to not be able to do things about that monetarily. And if we're at a point where we really want to enact change, we have to do it from all sides. That means the protests. That means bringing it into people's living rooms. That means having conversations. That means having important and uncomfortable conversations. And it means putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and that's well put. Hey, let me ask you this, though, because, Patrick Beverley came out and said, hey, if LeBron says we're playing, we're playing. Because LeBron is the leader here. He is this generation's that, okay? Generationally speaking, every sport has one of those dudes, and right now it's LeBron, has been for a while. But what kind of support do you think Kyrie has? You mentioned Dwight, and there's some other names going kind of going around. But you mentioned the guys that you talked to said that they would like to play, and I think that's probably the majority. But from a general sense, what kind of support is Kyrie getting right now with his stance that the players should sit out?
Well, I think the message is a valid one. I think that where I agree with Kyrie is that the conversation needs to continue. The conversation, this is not, yo, let's come back and let's just hoop. It shouldn't be that cut and dry. There need to be conversations. The league needs to make some concessions. There need to be concessions both ways. And, before the players come back and play, if I were a player, I'd like to know what the league would do to help me further the message. So in that sense, and just continuing the dialogue, getting the dialogue started, I agree with Kyrie Irving 100%. Just where I don't agree with is, the notion that not playing helps more than playing. I think that he's got a fair amount of support when it comes to that. I think that the view of Kyrie Irving from behind closed doors, from a player's perspective, is a little bit different than what it is from a media or a public perspective. But I also think that the vast majority of players, they want to play basketball.
And look, I agree with Kyrie that we do need to continue this conversation. It's the only way for lasting change, which is why we'll continue to do what we can in this very small space to talk about uncomfortable things. And I've been yelling it for a couple of weeks. I'll continue to. You are allowed to change your opinion when presented with new information. And it does feel like there are a lot of people that are willing to read, listen, watch, whatever it is, in order to educate themselves. Ignorance is not just not knowing things. It's also knowing things that you think are true that are not. And that's why education is important. But from your vantage point, do you feel like the conversation for the past couple of weeks has been what you would like it to be, or are there other things that you're looking for, if that makes sense?
No, I think it's been what I like what I like it to be. I mean, I think that, the conversation has been ongoing. It's been consistent. So in that sense, I mean, I've definitely on board with where the conversation has gone. But I'd like to see, lasting change. I'm sick of living in a country where there is an undercurrent of systemic racism. I'd like this country to be better. It's time. It's beyond time. And I'd like to do a part to make this country better for my kids who have to live with it, who will likely have to live in it long after I'm gone. So, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yep. No, fair enough. Let's get some Jazz stuff. And I actually do have a college hoops question for you before we set you loose. It feels like the Donovan and Rudy stuff has kind of died down. It feels like everyone's just kind of waiting to get back in play. But I don't know what you can tell us about the Favors stuff, Tony, that you feel comfortable with, whether it's reporting or whatever it is. I know you know Derek well, and there's nothing not to love about Derek Favors. He was great while he was here, handled himself well throughout all the trade rumors, great teammate, just a great dude, and a really, really good player. So there is the interest with Fave. Is it a mutual thing? I mean, what can you tell us about the status of Derek Favors potentially coming back here, because you got a lot of Jazz fans really excited?
Well, it's definitely mutual. But it's mutual, but it's going to come down to more than just, two sides having interest in getting together again. It's going to come down, there are other parts at play. What does New Orleans do? Because I know that they want him back because, Jackson Hayes is not quite ready. If New Orleans wants him back bad enough, they have a significant advantage because they have his bird rights. So they're not bound to the cap. The most the Jazz can offer Derek Favors right now is their full mid-level exception. Now, before COVID, we thought that mid-level exception would be around $10 million, right? So that would have put the Jazz in position to offer something around a 4-year, $36 million contract, or 3 years and $30 million, something like that. But now, after COVID, we don't know what the mid-level exception is going to look like. What if it comes in at $7 million now? So that changes things a little bit. think that Derek is whatever he does in free agency. I think he's looking for security. So that might give the Jazz some advantage if they were to offer him a longer-term deal, because I don't think that New Orleans will offer a long-term deal. I think they'll give him somewhere in the realm of 2 years, because they would eventually like to give that center position to Jackson Hayes. And then it also matters what's on the market. Now, if the market is totally screwed because of COVID, Derek knows that he might have to sign a 1-year deal. And, so it's there's so many fluid things going on right now, but I can tell you that, it's a mutual interest, but I can also tell you that just because there's a mutual interest, that doesn't mean by any means that something gets done.
Fair enough. All right, we'll end with some college basketball things. Couple of questions. I want to start with the announcement. They made it official. Caleb Lohner has been released from his commitment to the University of Utah, and we're expecting an announcement any minute now, maybe tomorrow or whatever, that he's heading down to play for Mark Pope and BYU. It's not a story that's new, but it is official. And then Booth Gotch has announced that he's going to play at Minnesota next year, so he is transferring. And we don't know what the deal is with Timmy Allen. We have not heard one way or the other. I don't have any inside information as to whether or not he is coming back or deciding to leave. I'm not sure. But let's start from a University of Utah perspective. Caleb Lohner released. He's going to be a Cougar. Booth Gotch is going to be a Gopher, Minnesota, and we don't know about Timmy Allen. So not a good day for Utah hoops, Tony. You covered the program. You've got a great pulse when it comes to the local hoop scene. What do you make of what we're hearing now and what's come down from a Utah perspective?
Well, I've talked to multiple sources about Timmy. I've been told that Larry Krystkowiak made a trip down to Arizona recently, and gave a real impassioned meeting with Timmy. I'm hearing that Timmy's leaning towards, possibly a return, but that's still up in the air. What's obvious is that, Utah wants him back, and, they think he can be one of the best players in not only the conference but the country. And he really makes this team go. So they need him back. That much is for sure. I'm happy for Booth that he's going to Minnesota. That's his kind of like his hometown school. I think he'll get a lot of opportunity there. So I just hope that he can, fix some of the holes in his game and kind of live up to his potential, because he has a really high ceiling. And, the thing with Caleb, obviously that's not new. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him. If he's good enough, he has a chance to get on the floor right away. I think BYU's put themselves in a position where they can have a pretty good team, especially after losing all of those seniors. So, if Timmy comes back, I personally think that Utah will be a good team next year, because I think they still have a lot of talent returning, a lot of experience coming back. I think Brandon Carlson's a stud. Obviously, Rylan Jones has the potential to be one of the best point guards in the Pac-12. And, the Pele Larson and Ian Martinez coming in, that's going to give them a lot of what they've been missing in terms of skill and athleticism. So even if Timmy comes back, even with the losses that they've taken, I think it could still be a pretty good team.
I just fired up your Instagram. Whose grill is this and what's going on? My goodness. Is this you?
That was my grill.
All right. So what do you
Chef, I was killing it.
What is this? What are you cooking? It looks like you've got some chicken. It looks like maybe some brisket.
No.
What's on this?
No, you're just wrong.
0 for 2?
That was steak, and
Okay.
that was salmon stuffed with crab meat.
Oh, wow. When are you inviting me over? If you're going to cook like this, I need to come over.
Hey, listen. Ever since I've gone to like a low carb diet, so I can only eat like meat and vegetables basically.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
So I grill a lot of steak and then grill a lot of chicken and crack open a can of corn or a can of broccoli or a can of asparagus.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I get hungry, I eat peanuts.
Wow. You're committed, man. You're all in here, aren't you?
And drink Crystal Light.
As long as you're not – what was that sorority girl drink that you were downing on road trips this last year?
Oh, the amaretto sour?
Yeah, as long as you're staying off of those, man. You got my support.
They have carbs in them, so I don't do that.
No doubt. And on that note, I know we need to set you loose so you can go get those miles in. Appreciate you pinch hitting today, and we'll look forward to chatting on Friday, all right? Be good.